So, ladies and gentlemen, the All-Star reserves have been announced tonight, and I do have some pretty decent snubs. I'm not going to lie. There's 3 players who I think have played more deserving basketball than 3 other players that have been announced on this list. I'm not going to sit here and say nobody deserved to be on this list as an All-Star, but I do think there are candidates that deserved it a little bit more than other candidates, which happens every year, but this year I have a YouTube channel. So I have a reserve backcourt player in the Eastern Conference, a reserve front court player in the Eastern Conference, and a reserve front court player in the Western Conference, and I have replacements for all of those, and I'm going to make my case on why one should be in place of the other. By the way, I hate how my hair grows. I just got a haircut like last week. Now, here are the reserves for the 2025 NBA Eastern All-Star team. Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, Darius Garland, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Damian Lillard, and Tyler Hero. Now, here are the Western Conference reserves. We have Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Jaren Jackson Jr., Alperen Sengun, Jalen Williams, and Victor Wembanyama. Once again, I'm not going to sit here and say that everybody on this list, or there are players on this list that just outright did not deserve a spot on this list. I believe everybody who is on this list has a case and a deserving chance to be an all-star. But I do believe there are 3 players who have a better chance or deserve it just a little bit more to be on the all-star team than 3 other players. And we're going to get into that. The first player I'm going to be talking about is Tyler Hero replacing Trae Young. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Tyler Hero has been phenomenal this season, averaging about 24 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on about 62% true shooting. Tyler Hero has also made it a big part of his game to be a little bit more efficient, and what I mean by more efficient is getting more efficient shots, which are around the rim and the three-point line, which is something that has been a really big trend in basketball the past few years, which is just creating the most efficient shot for yourself, which is around the rim and around the three-point line beyond the arc, and not necessarily settling for mid-range. And I think Tyler Hero has done a fantastic job at that. He's also been really creating for the Miami Heat offense in the absence of Jimmy Butler. I think Tyler Hero now creates 11 potential assists a night, averaging about 5 assists. I think that's been really good for the Miami Heat. The off-ball play, the on-ball creation, attacking closeouts, finishing around the rim and hitting three-point shots off the dribble and in motion and off the catch. I think Tyler Hero has been phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But even with Tyler Hero playing the way that he has, I just thought it was an outside shot of him really becoming an all-star this season. I had 6 guards in my all-star bracket or my all-star ballot this season, and I can argue all 6 of them has had better seasons and have been more valuable than Tyler Hero. And those guys are Jalen Brunson, Darius Garland, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Cade Cunningham, and Trae Young. And it's so funny because we look at a guy like Trae Young who's averaging 25 and 10. I came into the season thinking Trae Young was a top 5 point guard in the NBA. You could still make the argument that Trae Young is a top 5 point guard in the NBA. And it's just going to be so disappointing to see over time people just talk about Trae Young less and less, where with Trae Young, you just get a level of offense that a lot of point guards just cannot provide. And he's averaging, once again, 25 and 10 over the past few seasons. This season, he's averaging about 23 points per game and 11.5 assists a night. He's also been a plus 12 for the Atlanta Hawks in his on-off stats. And there's just a level of easy offense that Trae Young creates for the players around him. And he's had such a lack of on-ball creation around him, even though he just got off of 2 seasons of having DeJounte Murray. But you could argue that offenses peak higher with Trae Young when he is the main ball handler. But the level of poor offense around Trae Young with guys like Zachary Reese-Sachet, who is just completely raw as a rookie player so far, Jalen Johnson, who has made some major improvements, but you wouldn't be confident in creating his own shot off the dribble just right now. I think he's really more of a play finisher, somebody who can be a grab-and-go guy, somebody who can be a short-roll decision-maker, but as an on-ball creator, don't necessarily trust him in that role either. Same with Dyson Daniels. Clint Capella has become one of the worst finishing bigs in the league, and Onyeka Okongwu still hasn't put it together. Yet and still, when Trae Young is on the court, this team has a 114 offensive rating, which is good enough to be a top 10 offense in the NBA. So that's what really confuses me with Trae Young. I would say Trae Young can lead an offense better than all the 3 guys that I think are less deserving than the 3 guys that I'm about to talk about. Just for spoilers, I think the 3 guys that should not have made the All-Star team are Jaylen Brown, Tyler Hero, and Alperen Sengun. I think Trae Young can provide a higher offensive ceiling than all 3 of those players, and I don't think it's a debate. And you're not going to tell me Tyler Hero's defensive value is going to necessarily out-trumps Trae Young's top 10 offense built around him type of value. And then a really big argument I've seen on Twitter was, oh, yeah, Trae Young's inefficient. Trae Young's inefficient. He's shooting 40% in the field, 34% from three, 85% from the line on about 56% true shooting. Trae Young hasn't been efficient. Okay, well, by your argument, that means Alperen Sengun shouldn't be on the list. Jaylen Brown shouldn't be on the list. Jaylen Brown is shooting 54% true shooting. That is well below league average. Alperen Sengun, as a big man, is shooting 54% true shooting. And Alperen Sengun isn't an all-star because of his defensive impact. And I just think this happens year after year. Trae Young has played to a top 5 caliber point guard for the past 3 to 4 seasons, and he's just struggling to make all-star teams, and I'm really confused. It's getting to the point where it's just like, if only we could get consistent playoff runs from Trae Young. And I'm not saying he has to go to the conference finals every year, but make it an interesting first round. Make it to the second round. Like, if you could have a last year's Knicks run in the playoffs every single year for a 5-year span, Trae Young would be much more respected as an all-star. But people value winning. That's why Alperen Sengun is an all-star, and he's averaging 54% true shooting as a big. And we're going to get into him a little bit later. That sounded crazy. That sounded awful. Up next, the only player, I'm not going to lie, I really like Jaylen Brown, but his name didn't even cross my mind in an all-star ballot. It just didn't. I would say right now, I'm going to say it right now on air, if the Boston Celtics don't win a championship, it's because Jaylen Brown has been playing really bad this season. Now, on the surface level, it doesn't look too bad. 23 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, not bad at all. Let's take a deeper dive. We all know how inconsistent Jaylen Brown is as a ball handler, but what have the Boston Celtics tried to do with Jaylen Brown? Let's get him to handle the ball a little bit more. Now, to give Jaylen Brown just a little bit of credit, he is averaging a career high in 5 assists a night, but how valuable are those assists when you're giving me almost 3 turnovers a night? And if you look at some of the places that Jaylen Brown gets most of his offense from, it's outside of the restricted area, which last season he was shooting about 24% of his shots from 0 to 3 feet. I think this year it's fallen down to 17. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get the exact numbers for you. Last year, Jaylen Brown was shooting about 24% of his shots from 0 to 3 feet, and now it's down to 19. And why would you think that is? It's because he's getting the ball a lot more, and he can't create for himself in pick and rolls. He can't create for himself in isolation. It just doesn't work. And just to give you a little bit of numbers to back it up, this season he's averaging about 13 drives per game. Last year he was averaging about 10. This season he's averaging about 59 touches per game. Last year he averaged about 53. He has a 4.1 time of possession this season. Last year was about 3.6. Jaylen Brown is getting the ball a lot more, and one of his biggest concerns has been his ball handling. And now you add that on to him having one of the worst efficiency seasons since his rookie year. It's just ugly. It's just really ugly. And I guess since you're winning, you're on the defending champs, you're going to get 2 All-Stars. You're going to get 2 All-Stars because you're the defending champions. But out of all players on this All-Star ballot, I could say one truly just does not deserve it in my opinion. Am I confident that Jaylen Brown can play a lot better? Yes. I've seen Jaylen Brown play a lot better than what he is showing for the first half of the season. But this All-Star list is not based on what you can be. It's what you have been providing for your team. And I think Jaylen Brown has been a negative on the offensive side for the Boston Celtics. I just do. And I think a lot of it has to come with them just giving him the ball. He does not need the ball as much as he's been getting the ball. And I think Zach LaVine should be in his spot. When I made my All-Star ballot on the Hoop Talk podcast with Mars every Sunday, if you guys want to go check that out, we also started doing twice a week now with Wednesday videos reacting to hot takes. I think Zach LaVine has been clear-cut better than Jaylen Brown this season. Zach LaVine's averaging about 24, 6, and 5 on 64% true shooting. There are 24 guards, I believe, or 24 players averaging at least 24 points per game. How many guards do you think are averaging 24 points on 64% true shooting? Zach LaVine and SGA. And over the month of January, Zach LaVine has increased his scoring volume to 28 points per game, still on 64% true shooting. He's shooting 45% on catch and shoot threes, 45% on pull-up threes. He's an 80th percentile pick and roll creator. He's a 92nd percentile isolation creator. And he just has a way better in-between game. And I think a lot of this has to do with Zach LaVine's narrative. He's making $43 million a year. He was really hurt last season. He plays for one of the most dysfunctional franchises in the entire NBA. Jaylen Brown is on the defending champions. How are you going to have 2 All-Stars on the Lakers, but not 2 All-Stars for the Celtics? I get it. But I think it's just okay to realize that Jaylen Brown has not been playing basketball at an all-star caliber level. That's okay. That's okay. Because me acknowledging that he's not playing at an all-star caliber level is not me saying that he's not going to be able to play at an all-star caliber level at all this season. It's still a lot of season left. But as of today, Jaylen Brown is not an all-star in my book, and I think Zach LaVine has been playing at a top 15 level this season. And last but not least, Alperen Sengun. Alperen Sengun, don't get me wrong, I think he's made some improvements this season. But if you're going to tell me you believe Alperen Sengun should be an all-star because of him being the best player on the second best team in the Western Conference, I just think that narrative is inconsistent. We're not giving out all-star ballots. We're not giving out all-star votes because of team success. Because I saw this on Player's Choice. The Houston Rockets are the second best team in the Western Conference. They should have an all-star just because of how good they are. And then people are saying, oh, they're winning games because of Alperen Sengun. No, they're not. They're not winning games because of Alperen Sengun. They're winning games because they are a top 5 defense in the NBA. And if you're saying the reason this team is so good is because of their defense, and we're going to award the worst defender in the starting 5 or the second worst defender in the starting 5 an all-star vote because of it, that's very inconsistent. And we just can't ignore the fact that Domantas Sabonis has been better in almost every single asset of the game outside of defense. Domantas Sabonis has been way more efficient, 68% true shooting to 54% true shooting. Domantas Sabonis has been a better rebounder. He's been a better playmaker. The only thing that I would argue is Alperen Sengun has been better defensively this season. But why give it to Domantas, right? Why give it to Domantas? You know, the Kings are meddling outside of the play-in, inside the play-in. They had that really egregious start, but Domantas Sabonis has been their best player this season. He has had a career year so far. Domantas Sabonis is averaging 21 points, 14 and a half rebounds, and about 7 assists this season on 68% true shooting, and he's a plus 12 in on-off stats, while Alperen Sengun's averaging 19, 10, and 5 on plus 2. And Alperen Sengun's biggest contributions to the Houston Rockets is his offensive ability. The Houston Rockets have been one of the worst offensive teams in the league this season. And don't even get me started with their half-court offense, to where Alperen Sengun is supposed to be the floor setter for that unit. You can say that Alperen Sengun has been the better defensive player this season. Don't get me wrong. He has. But the gap that is the offensive side of the ball with how Domantas Sabonis is playing is not going to justify not having him on the All-Star team because the Houston Rockets are the second seed. I just don't believe that just because you are a seed or certain seed in the Western Conference that you deserve an All-Star. And let's not forget, Amen Thompson has been the best player for this team since he became a starter. So if you were going to give it to anybody, throw Amen Thompson an all-star ballot. You're not going to do that, though. So once again, I think Alperen Sengun has been really good. I do think the efficiency does not necessarily show the entire scope of his game. I believe that players' games are a lot more than just efficiency, but I think Domantas Sabonis has been outright better than Alperen Sengun all year. So it's going to be very interesting the next couple of days to see people try and defend their players that are on these lists. There are going to be people defending Alperen Sengun. There are going to be people defending Tyler Hero. I better not see anybody defending Jaylen Brown. And I don't mean to throw strays at Jaylen Brown. I think he's a great player. Do I think he's an all-star this season? No. Do I think the Celtics have 2 all-stars this season? No. Do I think the Houston Rockets have any all-star this season? No. Do I think the Miami Heat have an all-star this season? No, but Tyler Hero is having a fantastic year. I just don't think he's been as impactful offensively as Trae Young. And that's what Tyler Hero's main source of value is, the offensive end. If he's not more valuable than Trae Young, he should not be an all-star. I don't know what it is about Trae Young, man. And honestly, the reason I made this video is because of Trae Young, because Trae Young is one of the best point guards the league is going to see. He's a fantastic talent. He is a fantastic talent. The shot creation, the playmaking, the IQ, the ability to just spoon feed these below average offensive players around him. Easy looks, night in and night out, is just going to be completely underappreciated. And 15 years from now, people aren't going to talk about him as much as they're going to be talking about these guys that had Eastern Conference Finals runs and All-Star Game MVPs and the All-Star appearances and the All-NBA ballots. And it just sucks, man. And Trae Young is just going to get the short end of the stick every single time. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the three players that I think that have been snubbed from the All-Star game this season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. There's a reason I didn't talk about LaMelo Ball. If I didn't have him on my All-Star ballot, then I'm not going to sit here and say that he was a snub. I'm sorry. I'm probably going to make a lot of guys mad. I've already made a lot of guys mad with not having LaMelo Ball on my All-Star list. But the only shocking, well, no, there were two shocking ones. It was an idea in the back of my head. Like, I had a thought in the back of my head that one of these Rockets players were probably going to be an all-star. But what threw me left field was seeing Jaylen Brown's name. And I'm sorry, because this is not how I really feel about Jaylen Brown. Like, I think Jaylen Brown is a great player. But again, he just has not been playing at an all-star level this season. You cannot make the argument that he has been at an all-star level this season. There are multiple players in the NBA that have been better than him this season. There are also guys who are on that are not making it or have not made the list that I also believe had a fair shot of being an all-star, like Kyrie Irving. I think I can understand LaMelo Ball being an all-star more than I can understand Jaylen Brown, more than I can understand Tyler Hero. I can. But Tyler Hero and Jaylen Brown have been extremely surprising to me. Once again, Tyler Hero, this is not because you've been playing bad. This is because I just thought you were on the outside looking in. Having a phenomenal season, but I thought you were on the outside looking in. Jaylen Brown, your name didn't cross my mind as an all-star ballot. I just did not. I just did not believe it. So once again, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know who you guys' all-star snubs were in the comment section. And once again, I keep telling y'all, you guys are going to start getting the draft big boards coming pretty soon. It's just there's a lot of things going on in the NBA world right now. I'm also going live for the trade deadline. We're going to be live all day. I'm off work that day. It's up. We're going to be live all day. And we're also starting our at the Buzzer Sports post-game reactions live next week. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I'm going to make a community post if you guys want to check it out. Come chill with me on live, man. We like to have some pretty interesting ball conversations. So if that's something you guys will be pretty interested in, make sure you go check that out. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, man. Peace.